and welcome to Vantage Point's Maximizing Your Future with SAP Planning, Reporting, and Analysis. Thank you for joining us as we unwrap this highly anticipated topic. We are a service and sales partner for SAP North America in financial planning, budgeting, consolidation, reporting, and analytics. Our thought leadership goal is to be the #1 source in the industry for content and collaboration for all things enterprise performance management. We hope to bring clarity to an ever-evolving technology landscape by staying focused on the financial process that drives success for your organization. Enjoy the webinar.
Welcome everybody to today's webinar brought to you by Vantage Point. We thank you for joining us. This is the latest in the webinar series of Maximizing Your Future with SAP Planning, Reporting, and Analytics. Today's topic is specifically navigating the SAP BOBJ EPM decision tree. And our speaker is Paul Davis, who is the VP of Client Solutions at Vantage Point. Comes with years of experience. We look forward to answering questions that you may have. We hope the webinar is helpful today. Housekeeping items real quick is that you will have the option to, in the control panel, ask questions as we go, or you have the option to raise your hand, and we will more than likely save those raised hands to the end of the presentation, where we'll come back and allow you to unmute your mic and raise some questions for Paul or the team here at Vantage Point. So enjoy the webinar, and I'm going to turn it over to Paul Davis.
Very good. Thank you, Gary. As Gary said, my name is Paul Davis. I'm a Managing Partner and Vice President of Client Solutions at Vantage Point. I've been in this business for over 20 years doing enterprise performance management and business intelligence consulting for that time. The first 12 years of my career were spent implementing Hyperion solutions, even back when it was called Arbor Software back in the day. In the last 9 years, I have been focused specifically on the SAP product suite. My role has been very much in the discovery of requirements, the architecture of solution, and defining roadmap, not only from a client roadmap perspective, but also from a technology roadmap as well. Understanding where the vendors are going with the products, some related products, how they all fit into the ultimate solution to maximize customer values. And so over that 20-plus year history, I've architected 200, 250 solutions for customers, a significant number of these very business process focused solutions. And so bring a lot of that information and background to bear with my clients. I am a member of the SAP Enterprise Performance Management Partner Advisory Council, kind of defining where the product is going, working with that go-to-market team as well as product-based team. And I am based in Chicago. My information for contact is shown here on the slide. With that, our agenda for this particular webinar, we're going to go over initially what are the different enterprise performance management products that SAP has in their portfolio. There's been some great enhancements, some new product releases over the last couple years that are very exciting in the marketplace, but I think at the same time it's also causing some of our customers some confusion about what direction to go. So our purpose in presenting this decision tree seminar is really to help understand what the products are, what the use cases for each of them are, and then ultimately deciding which path to take in implementing the correct solution for your business, for your purpose, and for your technological infrastructure. Very quickly about Vantage Point, do our real quick commercial here. We were established in 2007. Formerly, our founder was part of the OutlookSoft company, OutlookSoft being the product that was developed by a core of former Hyperion personnel to deliver a single tool for planning, forecasting, reporting, and financial consolidations in one platform. SAP acquired the product in 2007 and rebranded it VPC. The Vantage Point team is comprised of some 25 members of CPA, MBAs, very financial-focused individuals, significant background in finance, as well as a few technologists who really help optimize and get the tools working together with a larger platform of infrastructure. We do have a nationwide practice, work throughout the U.S. With a little bit of overseas practice as well, but our headquarters is in Atlanta, Georgia. We certainly have centers of gravity in Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, Los Angeles, and Dallas. Our primary and sole focus as an organization is wholly on the Office of the CFO or Enterprise Performance Management Solutions. It is strictly all that we do. And as such, we are very much active thought leaders, blogging, these type of webinars, speaking at conferences and events. You'll see a lot of our information out there. In fact, if after this presentation you visit our website, there is a resource library which has a lot of our latest and greatest postings out there. One of the keys of who we are is very much that we have a very deep relationship with SAP. Because SAP is our sole focus as an organization, we are very tightly aligned with them and have become a leading partner for them with the Cloud for Analytics, or now it's this rebranded Business Objects Cloud product, as well as our legacy experience with the SAP Business Planning and Consolidation, or VPC product. The advantage of working Vantage Point itself, again, is that EPM expertise. Again, it's all that we do. We've done over 200 projects in the VPC space. Our team members typically have 12 years experience with the product. Again, they're MBAs, they're CPAs, they're financial analysts for the most part. Organizationally, we've never had an escalation with any of our projects where SAP has had to be called in to assist with issues. We're very proud of that 100% success ratio with our clients. From a technical execution perspective, we bring a strong methodology built over 20 years of implementing these solutions that we can bring to the table and frame our implementation and our project based on that. And again, that whole trusted partnership perspective, not only with SAP and that deep relationship there, but also the long-term relationships with our customers is very much a core focus of who we are. Some of our customers back 8+ years ago, some of the early days of Vantage Point, still remain customers of ours, and we do work with them on an as-need basis throughout our history. So let's talk about what the different BOBJ EPM planning products exist in the marketplace currently as SAP has. This list is inclusive of what SAP considers the Business Objects EPM planning suite. It does not include some of the legacy products that SAP has used from a planning perspective, such as SEM BPS or BW BPS, Business Planning and Simulations. It does not include Business Warehouse IP or Integrated Planning. Those tools are legacy tools, not on SAP's long-term roadmap, and so we didn't include them in discussions. Nor did we include planning tools that are more focused on the supply chain component, such as APO or Integrated Business Planning, which is a separate tool that works with the ERP system to do planning of your supply chain, of your demand plan, those type of objects. Not included in this conversation because it's not really considered core EPM. They're tangential, they're relational, but they're not core of what we're focused on. So really, the marketplace that SAP has at present is these 5 separate tools. BPC Microsoft is a legacy Outlook soft tool. It sits on top of Microsoft SQL Server environment, requires an enterprise license of that product to run. Then you have the 2-3 different flavors of BPC Netweaver. There's the standard version, also known as the classic version, was the original name, or the BPC Netweaver Embedded Model, which is originally known as the Unified Model. The BPC Netweaver Standard Model requires Business Warehouse 7.3 for the 10.0 version, or if you're moving up to the latest and greatest 10.1, Business Warehouse 7.4 is a requirement for the environment for the Netweaver Standard version. The Embedded Model only works on BPC Netweaver 10.1. It requires Business Warehouse 7.4 be established. 7.5 is certainly a possibility as well, the fairly newly released system. And also the embedded model runs on top of HANA, whether it is an on-premise or cloud-based through the Hyperion Enterprise, the HANA Enterprise Cloud system. Finally, there is the BPC Netweaver Optimized for S4 HANA solution. This is the more recently released product that is still legacy and core BPC. Originally when it was released, it was called Integrated Business Planning for Finance, but that was kind of confusing because SAP already had this separate tool called Integrated Business Planning that was more supply chain focused. So they've rebranded the tool optimized for S4HANA. Going forward, I'm just going to simplify that and just call it optimized. Don't tell SAP, you know, they tend to like that long name. I'm not sure why, but we'll keep it simple for the sake of this presentation. The requirements for the optimized solution, certainly it is a BPC Netweaver 10.1 implementation. It does require that the customer has the S4 Finance ERP solution in place, which means you're going to be sitting on top of HANA, whether that's delivered in on-prem mode or, again, in the HANA Enterprise Cloud. Last product on the tool list is the Business Objects Cloud, formerly known as Cloud for Planning or Cloud for Analytics. Project White Shark was the original name. Project Orco was a secondary name for the tool as it focused more on analytics. But really, this is a new tool that SAP has had in the marketplace for about 16 months now. There are no requirements, prerequisites for your infrastructure because it is a fully SaaS solution. It all sits on the SAP HANA Cloud environment, so therefore you have no requirements that you have to set up internally for this product. So let's talk about what each of these means and look a little bit from what the architectures look like, just so we can have a basic understanding and platform to take to the rest of our discussion. VPC Microsoft utilizes standard extractors from an ERP system. Whatever ERP system our customers are using, it can utilize multiple ERPs, SAP included, and uses whatever ETL software that the customers have. Often SQL SSIS packages are utilized to manage the process of moving data from your source systems to basically a Microsoft SQL Server environment where BPC sits in its own namespace with stored procedures and sets of table definitions that manage the process of running the BPC interface. All of these architectures, this is just the back end. The front end of all of these is going to be an EPM add-in, whether it's through Excel or a browser-based interface to these tool sets, but we're talking mostly about the back end because that's really what differentiates these products. BPC Netweaver Standard Model utilizes standard extractors from BW to extract ERP data from SAP ECC. You can also use other alternate ETLs to source data from non-SAP systems, and it's going to load that into an SAP BW environment, typically a staging environment with separate BW cubes that ultimately push that data, replicating it to a separate BPC namespace or BPC universe on Netweaver, where the BPC application controls those structures themselves. The newer release, BPC Netweaver Embedded, is fairly consistent with that, but instead of duplicating data and having BPC with its own separate namespace, it utilizes some of the constructs of business warehouse, IP, or integrated planning, and BPC is more of an application layer that interacts directly with those business warehouse cubes. Therefore, it minimizes duplication of data, latency of data. It makes a more streamlined infrastructure behind the scenes. There's some pros and cons, and we'll get to that as we discuss these products in a little more details in the next couple of slides. BPC Optimized for S4HANA, instead of sourcing data from multiple ERPs, it sits on top of the S4HANA ERP system itself. And much like the embedded model, technically the BPC Optimized solution is the embedded model, but instead of interacting with business warehouse cubes, it interacts directly with the S4 Finance tables itself. This is all happening in real time with absolutely zero data duplication, absolutely zero latency, because this is fully a real-time solution. Finally, the Business Objects Cloud utilizes multiple sources of data, being ERP, non-ERP, whatever it is, through a series of SAP-defined connectors or extraction tools to move data either into the cloud or set up a live time connection between the cloud and an on-premise solution to move data then onto the SAP HANA environment where your Business Objects Cloud lives. So let's take a little bit to talk about what each of these different products are. BPC Microsoft, again, legacy SAP BPC engine, came from OutlookSoft. Over 2,000 implementations of the product, and really the full capabilities of the tool, what it was meant to be, planning, forecasting, reporting, and full financial consolidation functionalities. Very tight integration of the product with the Microsoft Office suite. That's the legacy of how the add-in for the product was built, the customer interface. So it's very tight, it's very crisp, works very well. strong OLAP capabilities for the tool. It's true OLAP capabilities for slice and dice functionality, and much to the Oracle's despair, the Microsoft version of VPC does continue to be developed and enhanced. We know there's a lot of information in the marketplace that's saying it's a dying product, but the reality is with over 2,000 implementations, SAP does continue to spend efforts, dollars, resources on developing the product and enhancing the VPC Microsoft offering. The VPC Netweaver often was really a retrofit of that VPC engine onto the SAP Business Warehouse landscape. It is the fastest growing product within the SAP EPM suite. We are seeing a 2 or 3 to 1 ratio, maybe even 4 to 1 ratio of customers purchasing the Netweaver version versus the Microsoft version. Again, over the last 6 years, 7 years that the product's been in place and solid, there have been over 2,000 implementations of the VPC Netweaver solution as well. It does offer full planning, forecasting, reporting, and consolidation functions as well. It does offer some of that integration with the Microsoft Office suite as well through the add-in tools. And finally, it is focused on a tight integration with the back-end core products of SAP, the Business Warehouse, the ECC ERP, and then with SAP HANA. Some of the table structure, some of the processing of data has been optimized so that the VPC Netweaver product runs quickly, scales quickly within the HANA environment. So within VPC Netweaver, there are the 3 separate flavors, the standard, the embedded, and the optimized. So let's take a moment to kind of look under the covers of what that looks like, and then we'll talk about what each of those 3 flavors look like as well. So underneath the covers of VPC, the 2 flavors of Netweaver are standalone VPC Netweaver on a BW environment. That middle box here, where all of your data structures are, the data warehouse, the planning application kit, which is the planning functions that actually execute your planning app itself. Then the VPC add-in over here on the left is your user interface. The EPM web add-in is the web interface to the tool set, all sitting on top of a business warehouse environment. If you layer the HANA solution in place, VPC Netweaver on HANA becomes technically it's VPC Netweaver on Business Warehouse on top of HANA. The same application function for VPC does sit on the Business Warehouse layer, but SAP continues to move more and more functions into the HANA layer to minimize movement of data, minimize duplication, and maximize the calculation performance by pushing the calculation to the strong performing HANA row column database concept. How standard and embedded models of VPC 10.1 are same and different? We've put together a little Venn diagram. SAP has one. We've kind of enhanced and modeled it uniquely. In the orange here is the standard VPC models, which is pretty much the legacy VPC structure of how it always was, whereas the embedded model is more the integrated planning construct. So if you go around the curve of the blue versus the orange, you'll see there's fairly consistent. Some of the naming constructs are different. Some of the storage of data constructs are different. Calculations are different in the standard model versus how they're done on the embedded model. And the reality is the standard model is very focused on business user administration. Your finance folks, your line of business folks are typically the ones managing the VPC 10 Netweaver standard models. Whereas the embedded models themselves are very much IT focused because they're utilizing the business warehouse constructs to store data and calculate data and move data. That's much more an IT focus, whereas the standard model utilizes a very user-friendly admin console to do a lot of those activities. Some of the similarities relate to some of the reporting capabilities, how data is integrated. Some of the admin's capabilities are consistent, especially as it goes to security and workflow and business process flows, auditing, data access. All of those are defined in a consistent manner through that VPC admin tool, and the user experience is going to be fairly consistent as well, so those reporting interfaces. Just to kind of lay it out graphically, 2 simple areas where they we can really see the differentiation between the models. Embedded model on the left, standard on the right. The embedded model utilizes, let's start with the standard. The standard model utilizes the standard OLAP cube kind of construct, very consistent with how the original OutlookSoft product was delivered. Whereas the embedded model utilizes business warehouse constructs where you have cubes and info objects and aggregation layers all coming together, being pulled together, denormalizing the data, and then utilizing a BEX query to kind of aggregate that up. And the user interface is through the analysis for Office or Design Studio tools, accessing data through those queries. Whereas the VPC Standard tool utilizes the EPM add-in for Excel, the EPM web tool, accessing data directly against those OLAP models, utilizing the proprietary interactions and APIs. The SAP Netweaver Roadmap is very robust, very exciting. Some of the things coming, especially around the consolidation component. SAP has released an early capability for the embedded model to incorporate some consolidation functionality. If you're looking to do consolidations in Netweaver, right now you have to stick with either a standard model or limited functionality on an embedded model. Some of the other functionalities that are coming, just more enhancements around journaling, around consolidations, around some of that user experience, bringing together some of the SAP user tools such as the EPM add-in, the analysis for Office, Design Studio, and Lumira, all of kind of coming together into a much more unified whole on how the tool interacts across the larger platform. BPC Optimized, again, it is technically BPC Netweaver Embedded Models, but instead of interacting with business warehouse cubes, it's interacting directly with the S/4HANA finance tables themselves. The value of the optimized solution is certainly that you have real-time access to data. So if you're looking to do planning in real time directly against your ERP, optimized is the way to go. 100% eliminates the process of data replication. No longer am I moving data from my ERP system to a data warehouse or a data mart and then into a planning tool. It's all in one solution. That means there's no separate instances, no separate environment required either. So it limits your hardware cost and maintenance. Optimized does deliver some out-of-the-box content specifically for certain planning functionalities and uses the modern Fiori user interface. So it's very consistent with the S/4HANA look and feel. From a data flow perspective, what Optimized looks like is whether utilizing a single instance of SAP S/4HANA or multiple ERPs. You can use multiple ERPs and flow data in using this central finance tool here with up to real-time integration to load data to a central journal construct, which basically is a flattening of multiple finance tables from the ERP into a single universal journal. And then SAP Business Planning Consolidation sits on top of that construct, that S4 construct. Currently for planning, ultimately the goal is in the next couple of years to deliver consolidation functionality to that as well. You can see here there's the roadmap for S4HANA, continuing to build out functionalities not only around financial planning but also activity planning, cost allocations, much like your simulations within the ERP system. Tighter integration with that integrated business planning or supply chain type planning solutions. Then here at the bottom, real-time consolidations, as we mentioned before. Ultimately, that's on the roadmap for Optimized as well. Last product we're going to hit again is the Business Objects Cloud. It is a wholly software as a solution product. It leverages the power of HANA and is built from ground up to be a cloud solution. Goal is to make it a very simple, easy to use interface where we've layered on the experience of 15 years of building planning solutions in SAP, started to build that into the tool on a cloud-based interface. And then from the trust perspective, high collaboration, very easy look and feel, one common set of data for that enterprise single version of the truth. Business Objects Cloud does represent a platform of where SAP is going with this solution. As it becomes more and more of a cloud company, the Business Object Cloud represents really the coming together of a lot of these components. So it sits on top of this HANA Cloud platform, utilizing some of these data connectivity and modeling capabilities we'll talk about in the next couple of slides delivers information through a set of visualizations and geospatial reporting, managed through collaborations and workflow events, adding high advanced analytics and auditing monitoring capabilities, all delivered through the cloud. And right now, the functionalities capable within Business Objects Cloud include business intelligence capabilities such as exploration, analytics, storyboarding, dashboarding. There's planning capabilities such as standard budgeting or forecasting, as well as advanced allocation features. And then recently released was predictive analytics, where there's some functionalities within the predictive algorithms that can be tied directly to the Cloud for Analytics tool, or Business Objects Cloud as it's now called. Ultimately coming, SAP will be releasing governance, risk, and compliance on top of Business Objects Cloud as well, so that you can bring the full circle of the EPM platform into this one tool set. So from an input perspective, it's very much an Excel-like feel through a grid object. Within the object itself, it has some standard recommendations on charting and graphing. Your reports themselves are interactive, so any grids that you have and charts that you have on your story are going to be interactive. You drill in on one object and the rest of the objects are going to take those same actions. From a visualization perspective, Business Object Cloud uses the concept of stories to define what your user experience is going to be. It's kind of like taking business intelligence, dashboards, and PowerPoint and putting them all together in one interactive capability. Extremely easy to build reporting. We mentioned that it makes suggestions on types of reports based on the information on your grid. You can certainly customize those. Your report tiles can be linked, multiple tiles on a single page. They can be sized, they can be formatted, they'll automatically adjust in size from a screen size perspective so that you're not losing real estate. And then you can add in some geospatial or location type reporting, which utilizes an engine that does map type reporting to layer in some analytics. Very, very fun stuff. The key to how Business Objects Cloud is going to move forward in the future is this whole integration capability. So you can integrate data to Business Objects Cloud here on the right-hand side, either through cloud data from SAP or non-SAP cloud data, and you can see listed here the tool sets that are presently supported as of Q2. In Q3 here are the ones that are coming out, or Q4 that are on the roadmap to be released. Then these are through either connectors or the cloud ones are definitely going to be through a set of connectors, whether it's real-time or a push of data through those connectors. Or you can utilize on-premise data to push data from either SAP sources such as BPC, Business Warehouse, your ERP solutions through HANA, or non-SAP data. There's some standard JDBC connectors that are available. Again, either through flat files such as CSV files or delimited files that can be uploaded to the Business Objects Cloud where you're actually moving and storing the data in the cloud, or you can establish a live connection through a reverse proxy object with some of these tools such as the SAP or non-SAP tools that gives you a live look into that data. So you're not replicating the data in the cloud itself. Some of the advanced features of Business Objects Cloud includes things such as allocations. That collaborative interaction is it's like a chat tool on steroids, specifically for the business planning and analytic process. Workflow capabilities through a calendar of events, highly complex KPIs and calculated metric capabilities, that integrated predictive analytics capabilities to deliver you forecasts that are based on predictive algorithms rather than opinion, or guided machine analysis that really defines what are the coefficients or factors associated with success of one particular measure. And finally over here, the last piece kind of depicted here on the right side is the value driver tree. It's an SAP defined concept where they're taking what are the business process functions and how are they relate and how do they interact, how does data impacted through that whole value driver. Real fun concept that's introduced with this tool. From a roadmap perspective, a lot of stuff out there today, like we said, planning, reporting, the whole SAP Digital Boardroom is an exciting tool set of managing the boardroom meetings or executive meetings through this tool interactively online rather than referring to PowerPoints or spreadsheets. Where you have direct access to the Business Objects Cloud data or even drilling back into your ERP system. A lot of enhancements around the usability of the product, about integrations or connectivities, adding more predictive analytics capabilities, enhancing the boardroom, and really establishing Business Objects Cloud on that whole larger SAP Cloud platform. So now that we've defined what each of those products are, let's talk about what the use cases are for why you would want to choose one product versus the other in that SAP EPM suite. So starting as we do at the top of our original grid, we'll start with the VPC Standard tool. As we mentioned, well, that's not exactly correct, is it? VPC Standard, that is correct, not Microsoft. It's the Netweaver Standard we're looking at. Requires Business Warehouse 7.4 if you're looking at the latest release, 10.1, or if you have a 7.3 environment set up and you're not ready to make a migration to 7.4 or 7.5, you can use the VPC 10.0 version with limited loss of functionality. Typically, the VPC Standard tool is administered by the finance organization. So if you're looking for a tool that your finance or line of business organization is going to run and maintain and make updates to logic or dimensional structures, VPC Standard is typically the way you'll want to go. So what is a use case for why you would want to go with the standard solution? If you have a lot of custom master data constructs, such as alternate scenario hierarchies, your organization is making changes, you're introducing new product lines, you have multiple reporting structures for legal versus management accounting versus tax-based structures versus IFRS. If you have a lot of those custom master data constructs which may not live in a core ERP solution that are typically managed by a finance organization, that's a very strong use case for the VPC Standard model. If you have a lot of complex modeling that has to be done, of integration of models that are line of business specific, the standard model is a little easier to work with from that perspective. Again, most of the development that we see is still happening in the VPC Standard models, whether it's Microsoft or Netweaver Standard models. The VPC Embedded model does require BW 7.4 on HANA. The embedded model is going to then limit that data duplication, right? It's using existing BW constructs, therefore you don't have to duplicate data, there's no latency in movement of data, and if you set up a series of SLT connectors between Business Warehouse and your ERP system, you can get to a near real-time solution for planning on the embedded model. It was delivered utilizing the backbone of Business Warehouse integrated planning functions, and so all of those are capable within the embedded model. Who owns the solution? Typically, it's an IT-administered solution. It requires a high level of Business Warehouse basis skill set, ABAP skill set. All of the changes that you're being made are happening within the BW layer itself as opposed to a nice, easy graphic user-administered interface. One other point of note is that historically the embedded model has used the analysis for Office interface within Excel. Rather than the standard EPM add-in that a lot of folks know and love, this uses the analysis for Office, which requires an underlying BEX query to execute or retrieve data back. So what are the use cases where we're seeing the embedded model being selected by customers? If you have an SAP BW IP footprint in place, those folks are going quickly after the embedded model. In some cases, folks with a SAP BW BPS, Business Planning and Simulation, like we've seen them go either to standard or embedded. But it depends, and a lot of those customers who are going to the embedded model are doing so because they utilize BW significantly within the organization. They have massive sets of data that they're updating on a regular basis. They're looking to get more real-time data. They have very large dimensional structures, dimensions with 5,000 members per dimension, which is going to make a very large model. Or if they're looking for that, again, really tight integration, lack of data duplication, lack of data latency between your planning solution and your Business Warehouse solution, folks are going with the embedded model. Why are folks going with the VPC Optimized for S4? Well, there's one use case only for the optimized solution, and that's if you have the S4 model in place. If you do not have the ERP S4 HANA model in place, this is not an option, right? Because it's an embedded model, it's also IT administered. Rather than making the changes in the BW layer, your folks would have to be administering those changes directly in the S4 HANA structures themselves, which is going to require a higher level IT skill to manage. VPC Optimized does deliver a set of predefined constructs of templates that support a series of planning capabilities listed here, such as cost center planning, internal order planning, cost of sale planning, P&L planning, liquidity, balance sheet. All of those that you see here are some predefined constructs that you can utilize out of the box with planning. The challenge is making sure that what is delivered out of your ERP constructs are going to match what you need from a planning construct perspective, because transaction versus functional often become different. So if these predefined templates work for your business, it's fantastic. It's great. It's a shortcut to get this functionality. If your business is unique, you either have to make those changes in the underlying S4 constructs, or you can utilize one of the other deployment strategies for BPC. Next, we want to talk about the use case for a BPC hybrid approach. And we're going to talk about two hybrids within here, but this hybrid is a BPC hybrid itself, where you have the ability to roll out BPC in different deployment models under one license. Standard, embedded, and optimized are deployed, are purchased as a single license option, and the method by which you deploy is simply your choice. So you can conceivably deploy standard, embedded, and or optimized models as separate instances or separate models within a single instance of BPC. So why would folks do that? Well, if you maybe want to go very detailed, very transactional cost center planning utilizing optimized for S4HANA, you can do that. And then you can utilize standard to do something that's more kind of free-form or line of business specific, sales planning, capital or payroll planning. Often balance sheet planning becomes challenging because the consolidation constructs are not in the optimized solution as yet. So having those consolidation constructs in through the standard model makes it a wise case to deploy a standard model for balance sheet planning and perhaps cost center planning within optimized, and then utilizing an integration methodology or data movement to pull them together where they can be reported out of a single interface. Completely seamless to the end user behind the scenes, utilizing a common set of reporting tools, whether it's Excel or web. You have the ability to see through one interface data from multiple models, regardless if it's deployed as standard, embedded, or optimized. The front end really doesn't care once you establish that connection string. Business Objects Cloud Hybrid. So why would folks want to deploy Business Objects Cloud Hybrid? If you have an existing footprint of SAP BPC, but you're looking to expand kind of the capabilities or your user base to a much larger group of users, maybe some non-finance folks who aren't as savvy on Excel. You have multiple versions in Excel, and it's tough to maintain multiple versions connecting to BPC, and you've been having issues with that. A Business Objects Cloud and BPC hybrid model allows you to extend the capability of your existing planning tools in BPC to quickly launch a Business Object Cloud model. Because there are established connectors that directly extract information from BPC into Business Objects Cloud, both data and master data, you can quickly deliver a Business Object Cloud model with the core of the BPC application. Business Object Cloud is light years ahead of where BPC is as far as some of the analytic visualizations, geospatial, predictive capabilities. And so if you're looking to advance in those areas with some of the core data that you have in BPC right now, layering on that Business Objects Cloud interface on top of that in a hybrid deployment becomes an exciting opportunity. And again, low cost of ownership, right? It's a cloud-based solution, no extra footprint on IT, no hardware, no to buy and maintain, no new software to learn, no new infrastructure to learn. It's all managed in the cloud. And finally, it's a way for some folks to get the performance scalability of HANA without actually acquiring a HANA infrastructure themselves. Some folks are interested in that performance, but really haven't been able to build a business case internally to acquire the scale of HANA. Point to note here is that the Business Objects Cloud and BPC hybrid solution does work with any of the deployment flavors of BPC, whether it's Microsoft, Netweaver Standard, Netweaver Embedded, Netweaver Optimized. All of those connectors are established and work with Business Objects Cloud. Finally, let's get to the decision tree. This is the hook that we had up front to get you here, and we'll talk through what the decision tree. We've given you what some of the use cases are, and so we've kind of distilled those use cases now into this nice graphic decision tree. And honestly, forthrightly, it is a simplified decision tree, right? It's not the full reality and consulting with SAP or a partner who's very aware of all the EPM planning tools may be required of you to fully understand your decision, but this kind of simplifies it and distills it, right? So if you're initially looking for an IT administered tool, you're going to go the route of one of the Netweaver embedded solutions. So if you have S/4HANA in place, then you can certainly go with the VPC Optimized tool. If you don't have it in place, then Netweaver Embedded is the solution that you'd want to go with. However, if you're looking, you have a roadmap to get S/4HANA in place, and you just don't have it yet, you can utilize the Central Finance Journal to create that universal journal from multiple ERPs, or you can implement Business Warehouse, VPC Netweaver Embedded with a series of constraints and constructs that allow you to ultimately migrate that solution to a VPC optimized solution. There's some good white papers out there and just decision points that you can go through to appropriately set up a VPC Netweaver embedded model so that when you have S4 or you transition to S4, you can quickly move those VPC embedded models to optimized models. If instead you're looking for a finance administered or line of business administered solution, you've moved down a different path. And the first question you ask is if you're looking for a SaaS solution or an on-premise solution. If you're looking for a SaaS solution, there really is only one answer. Okay, that's not exactly true. The main answer is Business Objects Cloud. You can deliver BPC on a HANA Enterprise Cloud, which is more of a hosted solution than SaaS, but you get the picture. If you're looking for an on-premise solution, the next question becomes, well, are we trying to be an SAP-focused shop or not? And if you have a lot of investment within the SAP product line itself, then the BPC Netweaver becomes the direction that you would want to go. And certainly the standard model if you're looking for something that's much more finance administered. If you have multiple ERPs, you haven't made the investment in Business Warehouse, then the BPC Microsoft stack is very capable, very couplable solution. We have a customer who was recently, again, very large SAP footprint, but they made the decision to go with the Microsoft product because it just fit their IT strategy from a long-term perspective. So that very much lays out the quick and easy decision tree. Ultimately, this can get you directionally where you want to go, but I think a consultation with either SAP or a partner such as Vantagepoint can walk you some of the more esoteric decision points. There's questions of complexity of your functionality, especially as it relates to each of these tools, right? They've all been released over a series of several years, and so the reality is there's some maturity to the functionalities of each of these, planning versus consolidations versus reporting, that each of these have different strengths and weaknesses, and SAP or partners such as Vantagepoint can certainly talk you through what each of those are. And so some of those strengths and weaknesses I've highlighted very quickly in this chart. As you're able to access this webinar on a recorded basis or some of the presentation materials, you certainly have the ability to kind of look through the definitions of, on the left-hand side, these are the functional capabilities, whether the functional or technical capabilities of the different products, and then in the different columns you have the VPC Standard, whether Microsoft or Netweaver, the VPC Embedded Model, the VPC Optimized, and the Business Objects Cloud. Just, again, a definition of high being high capabilities or high effort, low being low capabilities or low fit for the tool set. And so a nice grid to just kind of give you an understanding of where each of these tools' capabilities lie in comparison to each other. So that is my presentation. Hopefully you've gotten a lot of information about the tool sets that are out there. I know, as I said, we run into a lot of confusion in the marketplace or concern in the marketplace about what is the right direction to go. Hopefully this is giving you some good information and direction as you make your decisions. If we've just begun to stir the pot and there's more information that you're looking to get, I am more than willing to jump on a phone with folks and kind of talk through what some of those things are. I can speak to it from a technical capability. I can speak at least to a moderate level of what some of the functional capabilities are, and happy to answer some of those questions. At this point, let's see if we have any questions at this point. I'll ask Gary, my moderator, or Lynn, if there's any questions out there that we have at this point.
Yeah, Paul, thank you for the great content and the continued wisdom that you share through your experience and your time that you spend so often with clients. So big help. We appreciate that. As far as questions, there was questions raised throughout the session that we've been able to answer. So I'm making an assumption that because those were answered throughout and we do not see a raise of hands, that at this point all the questions have been answered as we moved through. So I think we're in good shape. It sounds like everybody got their questions answered. And as you mentioned, if there's additional questions that need to be answered or would like to be answered, we'll make ourselves available in multiple ways. Direct confirmation or information will be sent to you following this, so you'll have a way to contact Paul, his contact information, as well as others here at Vantage Point. So we thank you all attendees for joining us today. We know the information was valuable. We believe it was valuable based on the questions that we had noticed. So we hope it was very useful to you, and we look forward to having you join us in the remaining portion of this series, which will continue almost every 2 weeks. We'll have a different topic in the series itself. So if you plan to attend the Reporting and Analytics Conference, we will also, Paul included, and several others in our team will actually be presenting in Orlando, I believe is in November. We'd love to see you there, so we will send information out kind of letting you know about that event and how you can connect with us there. And in the meantime, we would love to have any one-on-one conversations, so we'll open that up. We'll look forward to hearing from you as your needs or interests are and talking to us further. So with that, we'll close today's session. Thank you again, Paul, and thanks for all that joined us, and we'll look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks on our next webinar. Have a great afternoon.